if we put all those things in place, then I think we will take some of the edge off the debate. We're not going to completely resolve it. I mean, at some point there may just be an irreconcilable difference. And those who are opposed to abortion, I think, should continue to be able to lawfully object and try to change the laws. Those of us, like myself, who believe that in this difficult situation it is a woman's responsibility and choice to make in consultation with her doctor and her pastor and her family, I think we will continue to suggest that that's the right legal framework to deal with the issue. But at least we can start focusing on how to move in a better direction than the one that we've had in the past.
Senator, do you personally believe that life begins at conception? And if not, when does it begin?
You know, this is something that I have not, I think, come to a firm resolution on. I think it's very hard to know what that means, when life begins. Is it when a cell separates? Is it when the soul stirs? So I don't presume to know the answer to that question. What I know, as I've said before, is that there is something extraordinarily powerful about potential life, and that that has a moral weight to it that we take into consideration when we're having these debates.
Let me go to, again, the end of the spectrum on that. There are a lot of philosophical and ethical questions relating to ending one's life. In The Audacity of Hope, you write very movingly about your mother's fight with cancer, the pain she was in, and the process that she went through, especially toward the end. In that vein, if someone today was in her position and wanted to take active steps to end his or her life, do you think that would be okay, morally?
Well, I think we have to be very careful in making end-of-life decisions. I believe in, first of all, everybody having a living will, so that their views on these issues can be factored in by family members and their doctors. And many of the difficult choices that are made because people don't have guidance from the individual. I do believe in the importance of palliative medicine, and that if somebody is terminally ill, relieving their pain and suffering is the right thing to do. What happens then is you start getting into a gray area where relieving pain and suffering may accelerate death in some situations, and that is a choice that I think should be made by the individual, the family, and the doctor. I don't think that it's appropriate to empower doctors themselves to make that decision. But I think that it is important for us to be able to allow people who are terminally ill, in excruciating pain, to get the medicine that they need to relieve that pain.
And by relieve that pain, you mean hasten the end of life, if they choose to.
Yeah, and I think that there have to be very strict guidelines to ensure that somebody who's making a decision to relieve their pain that might take a week away from their life just because they are slipping into a coma quicker, for example, that is distinguished from, or at least there's a possibility that they slip into a coma, that's distinguished from euthanasia, in which somebody else is making a decision for them.
Let's go to Dr. Frank Page, who's with us, president of the Southern Baptist Convention. Dr. Page.
Thank you, Senator Obama. Thank you for being here at Messiah College for the Compassion Forum. Southern Baptists have been very active for years in sub-Sahara Africa in the HIV/AIDS relief ministry, sometimes orphan care, sometimes educational activities. But we also are involved in a ministry called True Love Waits, which has been credited by the government of Uganda from lowering the AIDS infection rate there dramatically from 30% to 6%. But we also teach a part of that faith has a role in the issue of HIV/AIDS. Do you concur with that, and would you elaborate on that, please?
Can I just clarify, too? True Love Waits is an abstinence program.
Abstinence-based and faith-based, yes.
Well, first of all, congratulations to those who've been involved in that work. I think it's important work, and I think you may know my father came from this part of the world. I've visited Kenya multiple times. I've been working with a group of grandmas who are helping AIDS orphans in Kenya. Michelle and I, when we were traveling there, took an AIDS test before thousands of people to encourage the importance of them getting clear on what their status was and hopefully reducing infections. And by the way, this is an area where this doesn't happen very often, so everybody should take note, where I compliment George Bush. I actually think that I actually think that the PEPFAR program is one of the success stories of this administration. We've seen a drastic increase in funding, and terrific work's being done between the CDC, the NIH, local AIDS organizations, NGOs. My view is that we should use whatever the best approaches are, the scientifically sound approaches are, to reduce this devastating disease all across the world. And part of that, I think, should be a strong education component, and I think abstinence education is important. I also think that contraception is important. I also think that treatment is important. I also think that we have to do more to make antiviral drugs available to people who are in extreme poverty. So I don't want to pluck out one facet of it. Now, that doesn't mean that non-for-profit groups can't focus on one thing while the government focuses on other things. I think we want to have a comprehensive approach. I do think that, and I said this when I was in Kenya, that there is a behavioral element to AIDS that has to be addressed. And if there's promiscuity, and we are pretending that that's not an issue in spreading AIDS, then we're missing part of the answer. But I also think that, keep in mind, women are far more likely to be infected now between the ages of 18 and 25 than are men. And that's why focusing, for example, on the status of women, empowering women, giving them microbicides or other strategies that would allow them to protect themselves when they sometimes in certain situations may not be able to protect themselves from having unprotected sex. All those things are going to be just as important as well.